The movie begins and we are transported back in time to 1944 as World War II rages on. After losing the continuation war, the Finns made a pact with the Soviet Union stating that aggression between the two countries would end if the former German ally was forced out of Finland. This conflict is known as the Lapland War, in which German forces retaliate against the Finns. Nazi soldiers have traveled all over Finland, and although they are now retreating, they continue to capture Finnish women along the way, injuring as many people as possible. Then we see an old man in the middle of nowhere. The old man's name is Adami, and he lives alone in the remote wilderness of Lapland with his horse and faithful dog. In Adami, he spends his days collecting sand and mining in search of gold. He sees battles taking place in the distance, but takes little interest in them. After discovering a rich gold mine, he collects a large amount of gold nuggets, mounts his horse, takes his dog and sets off for the nearest town. He knows that the journey will not be smooth, because there are Nazi soldiers out there who will kill him and take his belongings, lots of gold. He got on his horse and encountered a group of Nazi soldiers along the way. This, a 30-man platoon from Vermont, led by the ruthless SS officer Bruno Halldorf and his subordinate Wolf, withdrew, destroyed the settlement, and captured several Finnish women. Halldorf saw Adami pass in front of the train, but he said nothing. The other soldiers keep laughing at the old man, but the old man doesn't answer and just keeps walking. After that, Adami passes in front of Halldorf's car, but Halldorf says nothing. However, one of his men named Wolf takes up arms and shoots the old man dead. Halldorf stops him and he says that this old man will die anyway, so he doesn't have to shoot. It was later discovered that directly behind this train was another group of soldiers who had laid mines along the way. So Adami will be killed anyway. Walk toward Adami, and after a short distance you will see the corpses of residents hanging from utility poles. They were hanged. Adami continues to move, and eventually encounters the second unit that has laid landmines. One of the soldiers steps forward and asks Adami what he has in his bag. Adami says nothing, and the soldier checks the bag himself. They found money in his pocket and told him to kneel while he was executed. Adami told the dog to run away, and as it ran the soldiers started raining bullets at it. Halldorf heard these shots and grinned, thinking that the gun had been fired to kill the old man. Seeing them rain bullets on his dog, Adami becomes enraged. He then cut open the head of a nearby soldier and immediately killed all the others. Halldorf sensed that something was wrong, so he turned his tank around and headed for the group tasked with laying the mines. When he got there, he found everyone dead. He was shocked to see the bodies and even found a gold nugget. He now understood that the old man had the gold, and that it was the old man who exterminated his soldiers. He decides to catch the old man to make him pay for his deeds. They accelerate and catch up with Adami in a few minutes. Seeing them coming in chariots, Adami accelerates his horse. They keep dropping bullets in his direction, but luckily they don't hit him. Halldorf tells his men to stop shooting, but Adami wonders why he should stop shooting when he is still within range. A horse steps on a mine and it explodes. The old man still survived the explosion. As the sand settles, we see an old man hugging his dead horse like he loved it. At that moment, a group of soldiers approach the old man. Adami shows no sign of fear. Then collect the gold pieces scattered on the ground during the explosion. He also picks up a stone and looks straight at Halldorf. Halldorf's self-esteem is hurt when he realizes that this man is not afraid. He tells his men to shoot Adami, and just as he is about to open fire, Adami hits a nearby mine with a rock. The explosion gave him enough time to distance himself from his soldiers. Adami sees nothing, but secures his shield to prevent him from being attacked. Adami manages to escape and Halldorf orders his men to follow the old man, but his men continue to step on mines and many soldiers die in their tracks. Haldorf then ordered 2 local girls to be tied up in front of the tank. Haldorf doesn't want to lose any more of his men, so even if they do walk towards the mine, they have to walk in such a way that they die. 2 captive girls show the way. One of the prisoners, Ahino, volunteers to lead in place of the woman. Meanwhile, Adamai stops to catch his breath. He was hit in the leg and shot. He has lost so much blood that he is feeling tired, dizzy, and sick. He ends up sleeping there. Meanwhile, the soldiers report the old man's incident to his superior officer. They learned from his boss that this old man was no ordinary person. He is a former Special Forces officer and is highly regarded in other countries. They also know him as the Immortal One. His superior officer told the soldiers that he was glad he escaped alive. The higher-ups then order them to leave Finland immediately, making it clear that they will not touch Adamai. Haldorf finds a dog tag in Adamai and learns that he was once a Finnish Special Forces unit who lost his family and home fighting the Red Army during the Winter War. Burning with revenge, Adamai became a legendary one-man assassin squad nicknamed Kodoka, which means immortal. It turns out that this man killed hundreds of communist soldiers. He alone is said to have killed about 300 Nazi soldiers. Haldorf gets even more angry when he learns about the old man. It is also revealed that Adamai disobeyed his superior's orders and was left behind in a remote area where he died at the hands of other soldiers or simply of starvation. Haldorf is told by his boss not to get involved in Adamai, but of course he ignores the warning. He disregards orders to turn back and stop following Adamai, revealing that hearing other soldiers and his superiors recount the old man's tales of valor hurts his self-respect. Haldorf runs the trains, and he's got some dogs to use to find the old man. They approach the place where he sleeps without any suspicion. However, Adamai heard the dog barking and quickly realized what was going on. He soon realized that he had to get out of there or he would be caught. He acted nimbly, hanging under one of the German cars, punching a hole in the fuel tank, and dousing himself with petrol to mask his smell so the dogs wouldn't smell it. Adamai will stay there while the train goes on. One of the soldiers finally noticed that fuel was leaking from the vehicle, and he quickly realized that something was wrong. Before he can see what's going on, Adamai realizes he's in trouble again and flees the truck. He runs to a nearby lake, hoping to get there without getting caught or shot. The soldiers saw him running and immediately started firing at him. He gets hit in the leg again. The soldiers unleash the dog and go in search of the badly wounded old man. Mr. Adamai realizes that he will soon be caught by a dog, and with his body soaked in diesel, he attempts to self-immolate himself. When the dogs saw the fire they stopped, giving them enough time to escape to Adamai and plunge into the lake. While waiting for him to surface, Haldorf sends soldiers into the lake, but Adamai slits their throats underwater. The other side of the lake is Adamai. The soldiers decided to follow the old man across the lake by boat. Adamai manages to reach a gas station. As I stop there to catch my breath, I hear a strange sound. He then sees his family dog coming towards him and is shocked to see a bomb attached to the dog when it arrives there. He snatches the bomb from the dog and throws it away, but it explodes and the two feel the impact of the explosion. Adamai falls unconscious and is eventually captured by soldiers. Haldorf hates his guts and is angry. He then ties him up, and when the old man wakes up he has been tortured by the soldiers. They then decide to hang him, but Haldorf is still not satisfied. They hang him and as such Adamai dies, leaving him hung there. They also take all his gold. When the soldier is gone, it turns out that the old man was still alive and had no other choice but to buy time, so he was just pretending to be dead. However, he can't do it for long as he is still in a hanging state and will eventually run out of breath. After a while, the two German pilots landed in search of fuel, and the wind from the plane knocked off the gas station sign and Adamai fell to the ground. The engineer on board the plane realizes that Adamai is alive, and the pilot orders him to kill Adamai and the dog. Adamai manages to kill the engineer instantly, but the pilot hears gunshots. Then she heard a dog barking and, not realizing that her husband had been killed, shouted from afar to kill the dog too. He didn't hear back, so he decided to check on her husband's safety. He was found dead near a telephone pole. Then an old commando appears from behind and stuns the pilot. He doesn't kill the man because he needs that pilot to get to Haldorf. He has stolen the gold from Haldorf and he is desperate to find it. When the pilot regains consciousness, he finds himself strapped to a pole and an old commando standing in front of him. He then sews up the wound. Adamai tells him that he will kill Haldolf and all his men to get the money back. Then the scene changes to a train, and I don't want to face the consequences of the impending German defeat. Haldorf intends to use the money to escape with two of his aides, Wolf and Schutzer. He arranges for a pilot to escort them to safety while the rest of the train heads to Norway. At this point, Adamai forces the surviving pilot to fly to the train. The soldiers eventually discover that the plane has crashed en route and the pilot has been hanged with the same rope Wolf used in Adamai. Haldorf understood what was happening. He realizes his commander is still alive and wants revenge. That fear is now on the faces of Nazi soldiers. And I see some girls trapped in trucks. They start laughing, saying German soldiers can't kill immortal things. Aina tells one of the soldiers that the old commander will take revenge. The commander appears there and kills the soldiers who were escorting the girls. He then gave each girl a gun and killed all the soldiers in the right truck. On the other hand, Adamai gets into Haldorf's tank, drags Wolf out of the tank and hits him hard. Adamai follows Haldorf at the mercy of the woman, but Haldorf mercilessly kills Schutzer before taking off with the pilot. Adamai fired at the plane, mortally wounding the pilot, and hacked himself in the air with a pickaxe. At the end of the melee, Haldorf subdues Adamai by hitting him with a static line. As Haldorf is about to attack him again, Adamai quickly attaches a fixed line to the bomb and releases it through the bomb bay door, causing Haldorf to fall and die. When the plane crashes into a large swamp, Adamai buckles up after finding the pilot dead as well. The women, led by Aino, hand over Wolf and German tanks to an unbelievable Finnish army. And you can see Adamai crawling out of the swamp. Finally, he's reunited with his dog and makes his way, bloodied and battered, to war-torn Helsinki. Adamai enters the bank, where he throws the gold nuggets onto the counter. The other guests look at him in amazement as he is elegantly dressed. Finally, speaking for the first time in the film, he asks the cashier to exchange it for a high-denomination note, saying that it's not as heavy to carry as a nugget. End. Conclusion: in a gripping tale set against the backdrop of wartime turmoil, Adamai unfolds as a relentless pursuit of survival and retribution. Through unyielding resilience, Adamai, a former Special Forces officer and legendary assassin, defies his enemy's grasp, exacts vengeance, and reclaims both his lost treasure and dignity, ultimately emerging from the chaos as a symbol of indomitable spirit in a fractured world.